What's up, beautiful people? It's your boy Judeo, and I'm back again with a new video. Today we're going to be checking out a video by Walsh. This one is not gonna go very well because the title seems very intense. It's titled Jennifer Lawrence Proves She's a Narcissistic Idiot. That is the title, and I'm gonna put the link in the description in case you want to go verify. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this is gonna go. I think curious is the word. I'm more curious to see how this is gonna go because I can tell it's gonna be fire. I'm just gonna enjoy my cookie and listen. Without wasting your time, let's get to it.
Focusing on the fact that Hollywood constantly churns out woke propaganda pieces disguised as cinema, and that's of course true, and a large part of the reason why audiences are losing interest in movies. This past Thanksgiving box office tally, a time when theaters typically rake in massive amounts of money, saw the weakest performance in over 25 years. This in spite of the fact that or maybe because of the fact, there were multiple sequels to blockbuster franchise films showing. There was a new Steven Spielberg movie. There was a Disney cartoon about a gay teenage boy and a disabled dog. All these things were at theater. And
inclusiveness, guys.
Nobody went. Like I said, wokeness is certainly part of the problem here, but not the whole problem. Because the other issue is that so many movies are boring and dull and simply not anything to get excited about. And it seems that the people...
This guy, he's so formal, but very blunt at the same time. There's something about him. He's not straight up offensive. He's just... I don't know how to explain, but...
People involved in making these cinematic versions of bland, stale graham crackers are aware at some level of how boring and uninteresting it all is. And that's why they have to go to increasingly desperate lengths to pretend that their films are somehow revolutionary and provocative, even as they serve up the same under-seasoned dish that we've had a million times before. And I think that's part of what was happening this week when Jennifer Lawrence, now somewhat infamously, sat down for an interview with Variety and ended up claiming a title for herself that people older than 10 years old might find surprising, as it doesn't quite gel with our memories.
Yeah, what title is that?
Lawrence declared that she is the first actress to have ever starred in a Hollywood action film. Now, Jennifer Lawrence is 32, okay? She's not in her 70s or 80s, which she would have to be in order for that claim to have any chance of legitimacy. But here, let's watch the clip first.
I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work.
Wasn't it Angelina Jolie before Hunger Games? I might be wrong, but I feel like I might have seen Angelina Jolie in lots of action movies.
We were told girls and boys can both identify with a male lead, but boys cannot identify with a female lead.
Oh, absolutely.
And it just makes me so happy every single time I see a movie come out that just blows through every single one of those beliefs and proves that it is just a lie to keep certain people out of the movies, to keep certain people in the same positions that they've always been in. And it's just amazing to watch it happen and watch you.
Honestly, I'm just going to make this very clear. I love both women and I love their movies. So wherever Matt Walsh is going with this, I'm very objective about it. Just so you know.
You at the helm.
Yes, The Hunger Games, released in 2012, was the first action film with a female lead. Lawrence then noted that it was also a great honor to co-star in the Silver Linings Playbook so that she could get a front row seat to Robert De Niro's first film role. And she's especially humbled to realize that when she played Mystique in X-Men First Class, she was starring in the first superhero movie ever made. Truly a historic career in her own mind, if not in reality. Because in reality, of course, Sigourney Weaver exists, Linda Hamilton exists, Angelina Jolie exists.
Yeah, I knew about Angelina Jolie.
There have been many female action stars over the decades, going back to Carrie Fisher in Star Wars. Even before her, there were others. Jennifer Lawrence is not the first to do anything, nor the best. She didn't even come up
Shots fired.
with a new way of doing something. She just followed a script that had long since been written, trying to pretend that she's breaking glass ceilings that have been laying in shards on the ground for decades. Glass ceilings that, in this case, we should note, never mattered much to begin with. Okay, the fact that there are more men starring in action films than women, who cares? It makes sense that most action stars are men, as men typically make more compelling and believable action stars. Typically. Okay, it's a lot harder to make a female action hero into anything but a silly cartoon. Sigourney Weaver pulled it off, which is why her performance is still remembered by everyone except Jennifer Lawrence, apparently. And yet more often it ends up being a kind of goofy girl power routine. Men can also, see, a man, it's easier for a male actor to elevate goofy action plots and lend them a certain gravitas. Batman is an absolutely ridiculous concept, okay? It's just absurd. You got a guy who dresses up in a rubber costume as a bat running around. It's ridiculous. And yet every man in the role, except maybe George Clooney, has pulled it off with varying degrees of success. Meanwhile, there's never been a Batgirl that was anything but cringe on steroids. Because men are more natural for these roles, and generally speaking, they're just better at them.
You see how he just hits those punchlines that are supposed to be offensive, but it doesn't really like strike as offensive. I don't know how he learned to speak like this, but I don't. Yeah, if I said the same thing, I'm sure it's gonna sound a lot more offensive. Because first and foremost, my accent, and secondly, I won't be discomposed when I'm saying it.
Don't be distracted by parties and presents this holiday season. Instead, join Hallow's most anticipated prayer challenge of the year, Pray 25.
Okay, is that everything?
The #1 Christian prayer 25 challenge.
Okay, I'll put the link so you guys can go check out the ads, but we're not watching that here.
Too many men acting in action films. There were more men than women acting in them up until recently now, because now you can't have a white male lead for anything. But that's not a problem. It wasn't a problem. Any more than there was ever a problem of there being too many men who are roofers. You notice that the feminists are always very selective about the professions where they demand representation. I think I've seen maybe one.
Jordan Peterson argued the same thing too. It's like not the feminists in entirety, but most people always argue about misrepresentation at the top, not at the bottom. They always want to be like part of the top, but they don't want to be part of the bottom too, which apparently from his explanations, men tend to be in the top and in the bottom dominantly.
Female in my life riding on the back of a trash truck through the neighborhood. Somehow, though, there's no national discourse about the representation problem in the waste disposal industry. Mm-hmm. So it's okay for gender disparities to exist in certain contexts for feminists. But in reality, it's okay in general. Gender disparities are natural because men and women are different, and they gravitate towards different things, and they have aptitudes in different areas. Women are better in certain areas generally. Men are better in certain areas generally. That's the nature of that's human nature. It's the attempts to artificially even everything out that tends to always cause more problems than it solves. Mm-hmm. But this is somewhat immaterial, because the point here is that Jennifer Lawrence came along after females had already made their entrance into the action film genre. She's trying to recycle progressive victories from a generation before her. And we've seen this similar charade with, we see this all the time with the left, but we've seen it in Hollywood. We've seen it with other movies, such as when Black Panther.
Oh, he's a right-winger. People can say this is political. I don't know. I'm not a politician, so I don't know.
Celebrated as some kind of breakthrough because it was a film with a mostly black cast, even though such films have been made by Hollywood for years, for decades. There have been black superheroes before as well. We had them in the 90s. So Black Panther didn't pioneer anything. Ross Douthat made...
This is going to be heartbreaking for a lot of people. It's the first time I'm hearing this information, though.
At this point in his book, Decadent Society, which he quoted in response to Jennifer Lawrence's flub. And reading from the passage is what he says. The reality of recurrence may be slightly harder for progressives to acknowledge than conservatives because progressivism is more invested in its supposed position at the vanguard of cultural change, pressing boldly on to new frontiers. This makes it difficult for the left to recognize the generational recycling of its ambitions and anxieties. The fact that many progressive breakthroughs are just the culture cycling back to something that we did not that long ago, up to and including kick-ass female action heroes such as Wonder Woman, who followed a path blazed by Sigourney Weaver's Ripley in the Alien movies, or the robot-wrangling Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies, or even the blaster-wielding Princess Leia in the Star Wars 40 years before that, or the African-American heroes in Black Panther. In truth, black stars were arguably more important in the years of Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor in The Cosby Show and the young Denzel Washington than in our officially representation-obsessed age. Now, his book, Decadent Society, is about, as you may have guessed...
That's a valid point. I think so, too.
We are a decadent society in the sense that we, as doubt that have it, are locked in this kind of cultural stalemate, treading water, adrift, bored, recycling the same ideas and themes. Now, I don't agree with all of his thesis, but when it comes to our artistic output, there is no question about it. A decadent society with decadent celebrities clamoring to be cultural revolutionaries in a culture that they have already won. They already own it. And that ultimately is why Jennifer Lawrence is today canceled. Well, I hope you
canceled. Are you sure you can't cancel her by yourself? She could cancel you. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Anyways, that was a very good video. I feel like the problem right now is the fact that everybody believes my word counts, so I should speak up. I mean, everybody should think that way, but it's becoming more and more of a problem because whether you have a thought, if I wake up in the morning and be like, my bed should be a tree, and I start pushing that out there as a narrative, before you know, I'm going to build an audience, and people are going to, join me on the movement. Jude's bed should be a tree. Why would the government make his bed be a bed? He should be sleeping on a tree, So that there just lets everybody feel like I can say this and get away with it. I mean, I'm not blaming anybody, not Matt Walsh, not Jennifer Lawrence. I'm just saying, with more wave of people talking and saying whatever they want and trying to hold on to the narrative and feeling like I'm the right person to be doing this, or this is how things should go. It's mostly because there are more platforms available to speak up. In the olden days, I believe people still thought of these things and would have loved to speak in this manner, but they had fewer platforms to speak on it or to address it. But now we have everything: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. And these platforms are also promoting this content. So people feel the need to always speak out, speak up and say whatever they want to say. And there's going to be an audience for whatever you say. There's going to be an audience, like at least 2 people who would like it or follow you on whatever you want to do. Anyways, about his point on Jennifer Lawrence not being the first woman to be in an action movie, I definitely think she's not the first. Yeah, because I remember seeing Angelina Jolie before Jennifer Lawrence. That's the one I can remember. But I'm sure there were a lot of other people. Is Jennifer Lawrence narcissistic for saying that, or is she a narcissistic idiot like his title said? I wouldn't go that far because I don't know the lady. I don't know her personality. I wouldn't call her that. It could have just been a mistake. Maybe it came out of her mouth wrongly, or she was trying to say something in a different context, or we're just taking her out of context. It could have been different things. So I'm not going to call her a narcissistic idiot. It could also be I'm trying to be on the safe side so I don't get cancelled. It could also be that. Anyways, this is the end of this video. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see any other video by Matt Walsh, feel free to request, send me the title, send me the links, and we'll check it out together. Have a very wonderful day. Peace.